my literature says lieutenant governor on it, and I had just finally learned how to spell lieutenant. It's not just LT period. But anyway, so but we do have a website. It's johnsonforgeorgians.com. And we'll be all geared up and running, because all of this has just happened since Monday, so it's new news. George Dillard will chair my campaign here in Fayette County. Y'all know him, and he's an old friend that goes way back. So we'll be moving forward, and I don't know what our length of time is, David, but I'd be happy to take any questions. I don't know if Sue is speaking. What's the agenda?
Yeah, I think you can take a few questions.
Okay.
Sue's going to speak, and we've got one other speaker. Mayor Logson's going to speak a little bit, but I think he's waiting on you.
What do you see as your approach to handling our transportation needs for in particular, the state of the DOT right now?
That's a big issue, and it's not just families stuck in cars and quality of life, and the working spouse that's spending an hour each way that could be with the family or at work, or the mother trying to get to soccer game or schools, and that the quality of life is diminished with this traffic. But it's also, of course, the movement of goods and services and commerce, and so we have got to tackle it. Now, Georgia we took a step this year in reforming how this planning is done. And we separated the politics from the planning, and I think that was a good thing. It was one of the governor's priorities was, before we go to the public with a potential self-imposed tax, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we want to make sure that we have a system in place that says, here's what we need to do. It's a real budget, it's real traffic relief, and then we can go forward with the process. The second step is we are underfunded. Whether it's the gas tax, whether it's the Federal Highway Administration, which has been paying for 3/4 of highways, is broke too. So what the General Assembly has been struggling with is we are not raising taxes, but we are struggling with putting before the people the ability, like a local SPLOST tax, a list of projects with a specific time frame that you can vote yes or no on. And implement that. The House has a statewide version. The Senate's been talking about a regional or a county-by-county version. Virtually all of the editorials in the business community has endorsed the Senate version as a simpler one. It's more local. You would be more in control of what Fayette County wants to do. But frankly, I think that's going to be resolved in the next session, is that they will come together with some sort of funding mechanism to put before the voters in 2010. So as long as it's a specific list of projects, as long as it's a limited time frame, and as long as, just like you do with SPLOST, I have no problem with putting something before the voters. Yes, ma'am.
What's your views on flat tax, fair tax, taxation?
That's a good question, and the chairman of the Finance Committee has left the room. But I am extremely frustrated with the way the General Assembly has been handling taxes. It's been piecemeal. It's this one and that one, and we're cutting local taxes and not our own taxes. I was one of the 4 Republican senators that voted against repealing the homeowner tax relief grant. Your residential property taxes will probably go up $300 a year next year unless local governments can cut spending. What I think we need to do, and I did a study committee that came out of the Senate, but it would not come out of the House for whatever reason, is take the first comprehensive look at Georgia's tax code in 19 years. We have not done that, because I am convinced that we can make our tax system broader, fairer, simpler, and lower if we look at it in a 21st century model like FairTax it does. I've talked with John Linder. We cannot do FairTax at the state level. That has to be a national effort where everybody goes at the same time. But we can do that same sort of model where it's a broader consumption-based tax and reduce all the special interest tax and spread the tax load out to more people and make it simpler, fairer, and lower. That's where I think Georgia can find a fair tax type model to move at, unless Washington can end up doing a fair tax. I think as governor, I can call on a constitutional convention that would repeal the income tax and force Congress to try and implement the fair tax, and that's something else that I'd be very interested in.
Can you speak to how the funds from the stimulus package are being distributed and how we decided what projects you're involved with that at all right now, or what is happening.
Ronnie, while you left the room, we resolved the tax issue. So
Great.
we didn't put you in charge.
Great,
Stimulus money. I am not a stimulus money fan. I think it's the penalties this country are going to pay for that budget up there are going to be generational. And even if we rebel, have a revolution like we did in 1994 with the Gingrich contract with America, the damage that is being done right now will take a generation to undo. Now, I'm an optimist. We're still America. We're still opportunity based. We're still free market based at the grassroots level and in Georgia. And I wish that they had focused solely on infrastructure, which even conservatives say, if you're like a mortgage, if you're building your college buildings or you're building roads and transit, that's a legitimate use of money that keeps people working. But what they're using is the economy, which they are making worse than it really is, to justify their socialism moves, and that is wrong. And but the governor took the stimulus money. We spent half of it in the budget this year to prevent even further cuts. We cut. Everybody's saying $3 billion. We actually cut $1.4 billion in the state spending. Then we used about $500 million in reserves, which are going to be gone now next year. And about 1.2, I think, is the math of stimulus money, holding back about another $1 billion to use next year. But how it's getting spent is at the executive branch level. There's nobody in Washington that knows what's going on. There's really nobody at the state level. Just a check will show up in the mail and the departments are going to start spending it. Yes, one more question.
Are you in favor of revising the budgeting for the state agencies of the state of Georgia to zero-based?
Yes, I am. It's co-signed that bill. Actually, the governor goes into zero-based budgeting as he goes into his departments and starts in September. They do that internally. The General Assembly doesn't. And so that's what we're trying to do, is get the General Assembly to get involved with zero-based budgeting and go back to scratch. Our subcommittees do a real good job. It's not as, we actually don't just see 10% of the budget. That's what ends up getting printed, because that budget is that big. Zero-based budgeting would be like the Congress budget. So, but yes, I want the General Assembly, even as governor, because I come out of the General Assembly. I was appointed to conferees on the budget and was on the conference committee myself when I was in leadership. I want them to see what we see, because the more eyes there are on budgeting, the better it's going to be. And the Senate, when we took over under my leadership, it's now up on the web, so the citizens can go and look at the budget and come forward with ideas too. This is what it's all about. It starts with you. In our republic, it's an equal balance between citizens and elected officials. We can't do our job without you. You're electing somebody up there to sort of read the fine print and make the decisions based on your best view of what that elected official is. But if you just let your duties end on election day, that's when the politicians then get out of control, because they're listening to the special interests and the other people. Leadership is about trust. I want to earn your trust. If I can get your trust, I'll get your vote. If I get your vote, I'll be a good governor for a great state. Thank y'all very much.